Stay tuned to PBS 39 for a focused special report on homelessness in the greater Lehigh Valley. Statistics show an increase in the number of people in need of shelter and housing services in our region. We travel to shelters and centers in Allentown, Bethlehem, and Easton to learn how they meet this growing demand and discuss solutions with community leaders right now on Focus.
Funding for Focus is provided by Univest Banking, Insurance, Investments, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this Focus special report. I'm Laura McHugh. The latest reports from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services showed that on a given night in January of 2016, more than 500,000 people were homeless in the United States, and 1 in 5 of them was a child. In the Lehigh Valley, new data reveals that homelessness could be more prevalent than previously thought. As we explore the region's housing needs, reporters Grover Silcox and Frankie Aluzzi take us to Easton, where in 2016, the 3rd Street Alliance served 234 homeless people, including 130 kids.
Interestingly enough, homelessness is an equal opportunist. I get people from all ethnicities. I get people from all ages and all different backgrounds. I've never heard the same story twice.
When I first moved to Pennsylvania in August of 2015, I was living in a hotel for a month and a half. And all of a sudden, my money started getting really tight.
So I said, "You have a few minutes to get here." And she did exactly that.
When you're a parent, you don't really worry about yourself. You worry about your child. And she said, "Never call this place a shelter. It's not a shelter. You live in a mansion." She said, "I want you to know that you live in a mansion. Make sure that you tell your son, we're going to be living in a mansion."
Third Street Alliance is a nonprofit located in Easton, Pennsylvania. Our mission is to provide a safe and healthy space for women, children, and families to live, learn, and thrive.
Our tagline is a mansion with a mission. We take that really seriously.
We offer our services in what is a historic home that has been repurposed to serve as a shelter for homeless women and their children, a child care space for children ages 6 weeks to 6th grade, and an adult day services for adults with dementia and disabilities.
Because the center provides Montessori dementia care, when the children come and visit the center, it's a very comfortable environment, and they feel good, and they could do projects with each other, both adults and the children.
It just seems a natural relationship for the kids and the adults to come together and enjoy some things.
I've had a family that approached me, and she was expressing her gratitude towards that service. Her son does not have a grandfather in his life. I explained to her the special relationship that her son has with one of the adults in that program. And when she found that out, it brought her to tears to know just because her father wasn't around anymore, that he was still able to have that special bond and relationship.
We have a huge issue in terms of affordable housing for folks. It's finding housing that is affordable for people who are on a very limited income.
This is a place where we're able to nurture and to build up the whole person, regardless of what program they're in. 75 to 80% of the ladies who leave our program, they leave successfully. Once you take the burden of where am I going to sleep tonight, once that's off of the table, you then can concentrate on where am I going to work. You can concentrate on helping your children through school. You can definitely concentrate on some of the more important things.
And as long as you're willing to put in the work and you have the drive and the determination to get there, the sky is the limit.
To learn more, we're now joined by Mark Riddle, Vice President Impact at United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley. Mark, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So when we were putting together the research for this story, source after source told us that one of the services making the greatest impact on homelessness is 211. You oversee that program. What is 211?
That's right. 211 is a nationwide program powered by United Way across the United States, and also partnership with other organizations. In the Lehigh Valley, 211 is a helpline. And everywhere in the country, 211 is a helpline. So if you don't know who to call for help, you call 211. In the Lehigh Valley, Lehigh and Northampton counties, 7,000 to 8,000 people call 211 for help every year. 10% of those callers are repeat callers, so people depend on 211 as a place to call.
How does it work?
So 211 does a few things. You call for whatever reason you might be calling, and the role of the trained operator in the call center is to first assess your needs, to listen, to be an empathetic ear, and then to connect you to services that you need. So you may call for one reason, and through the conversation discover that there's resources you didn't even consider that they connect you with.
When did it start, and how has its uses grown over the past several years?
Well, nationwide, it's been around for over 20 years. In Pennsylvania, I believe it's been around for about a decade. In the Lehigh Valley for about the last 5 years. And we have multiplied the call volume by 160% since we started the program in the Valley since 2013.
Why are people calling, and why is that relevant when we're talking about homelessness and housing?
Yeah, that's actually how we got to the issue of coordinating a solution around homelessness and housing in the Valley. 67% of the callers, so around 2/3 of the callers, are calling for housing or homelessness issues. Half of those callers are calling specifically because they are today homeless or very soon to be homeless.
How has that changed what we know about the homeless population in the Lehigh Valley?
Yeah, that's a great question. The more data we have about who is homeless in the Valley, the more resources we can find to support those people. So, for example, we used to track around 750 people every year. And that number dictates the amount of dollars that we get from the federal government, from Housing and Urban Development, HUD. And now we're finding just between January and October of this year, well over 1,000 people have called the line saying that they need help today because they're homeless, either doubling up in an apartment or literally on the streets. That's more people than we initially thought. So now we have a larger problem to address.
How many of those people still need help today?
About 534 the last I checked.
We'll continue this conversation in just a moment, but now we turn our attention to the issue of transitional housing. For more, here's Focus reporter Brittany Garzillo.
Thanks, Laura. Operated by a group called the Community Action Committee of the Lehigh Valley, the 6th Street Shelter is the largest family shelter in the region. Its emergency shelter in Allentown has 25 apartments and provides intensive programming for up to 60 days. But what happens to families after those 2 months are up? We learned more about their transitional housing programs in Allentown and Easton that aim to help families pursue self-sufficiency.
Go, Leah!
Between work, school, and keeping up with her 5-year-old daughter,
Should I say I'm expecting? Oh, I'm married too. Oh gosh, oh gosh.
24-year-old Chelsea Morales has her hands full.
What? Draw two?
In this moment, life seems to be all fun and games.
I'm not gonna be able to fit these cards in my hand no more. You guys.
But Chelsea couldn't always choose the cards she was dealt.
It was just me and my mom. My dad was not around. Eventually, life got crazy. We were homeless a lot.
She persevered, attended boarding school, and says she was awarded scholarship money for college, but left it all behind when she became pregnant at 17 years old.
I was so overwhelmed that I ran away from the school and went with my mom. Things got rocky. Sometimes, she would just choose when what day she was going to kick me out of the house, and I would literally be on the streets in Allentown, just not knowing where to go sometimes, or, you know, what to do.
Eventually, Chelsea found a transitional housing program offered by the 6th Street Shelter in Allentown.
The average family of 4 needs to make $18.50 an hour to be able to live in Allentown, to be able to afford this rent. And that's not even affording a car. So they're working so hard just to be able to live that giving them the extra support of transitional housing is what we focus on.
Christine Blasco is the director of the 6th Street Shelter, which offers 2 18 to 24-month transitional housing programs, the Turner Street Apartments in Allentown and the Ferry Street Apartments in Easton.
It's long enough to change habits. A lot of the programs aren't long enough to change your life, and 2 years is, and we see it.
Resident Jahida Davis and her children moved into their apartment in August.
I feel like I have more purpose now that I'm being a mother and I'm working on myself and bettering myself and not using substances and facing my problems and dealing with stuff. I feel like I've grown a lot.
In addition to apartment inspections and a community chore, Davis meets weekly with her counselor, Rosalind Kuba.
We go through their finances, we do a budget, they have to show receipts that they've paid their rent every month.
The amount each person pays in rent depends on their income. For example, the average rate for a 2-bedroom apartment like Davis's would cost $870 per month. The program allows her to pay $480 per month, plus electricity, and requires she put money towards savings and pursue education.
To come into the Ferry Street Apartments, you have to be homeless, any family dynamic, you have to have some form of income, and you have to be pursuing some form of education. And an education can consist of English-speaking language classes to GED, to community college, to bachelor's. We've had some people pursue a master's degree.
Working on her associate's degree, Davis currently studies social work at Northampton Community College.
It is challenging, but if you put your mind to it, if you put your mind to anything, you can accomplish it.
Roughly 80% of the people coming through our 2 transitional housing programs are going through the program successfully. And then 100% have stayed in their housing after they've left the transitional housing. They're not coming back to us in a year saying they have nowhere to live.
They really completely get off the system and they're able to give back to the community, and that's the ultimate goal.
Combined, the programs offer housing in 22 apartments.
When an apartment becomes available, there's several families, 20 families that are bidding, trying to get the same apartment, so you're turning down many families.
I had to save my life.
For families in need of help, Davis shares her message of hope.
It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of guts sometimes to be where you want to be in life. I'm showing my children that no matter the circumstances, you can do anything.
For Focus, I'm Brittany Garzillo, reporting.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Brittany's with us now. Now, Mark, Brittany's sources at the 6th Street Shelter told her that the demand is so great that they don't even keep a waiting list for transitional housing.
That's right. They have to interview like around 20 families at a time and then only select one. What's the need like here in the Lehigh Valley?
Yeah, the need is great. So I just mentioned that, there's over 500 people on a waiting list. So that's just documenting the need of who needs assistance. That's just a waiting list for emergency shelter. So what's the solution to that? And as I was, as a funder, we like to identify what the problem is and talk with a lot of people, including people at 6th Street Shelter, to understand the need. So my reaction was, well, maybe we need more beds, right? More emergency shelter space to be able to account for that need. And that wasn't the answer that I got. What I got was that we need more resources for transitional housing. We need more resources for affordable housing once that transition is complete. And once you have that, you can get people out of the beds and then move people through the waiting list into those beds. So there has been less and less funding for transitional housing and affordable housing issues really across the country, and it has impacted the Lehigh Valley.
I know specifically at the 6th Street Shelter, they said 100% of those people that leave stay in their housing after transitional housing. housing. Is that a solution to this problem?
That's right. It is a solution. And the more affordable housing spots that we have in the Valley, the more we're able to move people there. People are ready now to move into affordable housing. It's less of an issue of getting people ready for housing. We have that system in place. What we need is more housing stock, really, that people can afford.
So at United Way, you're really measuring collective impact, and you're distributing funds to all these different organizations across the Lehigh Valley. How does the data that you've collected allow us to either apply for additional funds or for you to better distribute the funds that you have available?
So the housing and homelessness sheltering community really has spoken out to United Way. So our funds and our plans are dictated by the need and by listening to community partners. And what we hear more and more is that we need to continue to supply funds for emergency sheltering. Because if those funds go away, then we don't even have that. You can't even move into the transitional sheltering if you don't have shelter, if you don't have, the emergency shelter beds in the first place. So we're focused on that, and we will have a funding application open in November of 2017. Through January of 2017, we'll have an application for funds in emergency sheltering, including sheltering for domestic violence, crime victims, but also housing and general homelessness issues. We will have opportunities for that as we have in the past.
Thank you, Brittany, and thank you, Mark, for sharing your information. We return to Center City, Allentown for our next story about a temporary shelter for women and children run by the Salvation Army. Directors there report that since 211 was implemented, they rarely, if ever, have an open bed. Here's Focus reporter Amy Johnson.
This used to be my room when I was staying here. My daughter used to sleep there. I used to sleep here. My son used to sleep up here. This was our room for 42 days.
For those 42 days, Nancy Guadalupe Luna and 2 of her children lived in room 305 of the Salvation Army's emergency shelter for women and children, known as the Hospitality House in the Richard Fleming Family Hope Center in downtown Allentown.
I became homeless because I was in an abusive relationship. But I found here a home for my kids to lay their head up. 3 meals a day, not being in the street, hungry. And that's because Ms. Elena gave me the opportunity to stay here.
This room also is used as a room for an overflow that we have in the shelter.
Elena Bellatieri runs the shelter, which provides emergency housing to more than 250 women and children like Nancy each year.
We'll get over 100 phone calls a month of people that are calling here seeking shelter for one reason or another.
The shelter has a total of 45 beds, including 6 reserved specifically for single women.
If you're a single woman in Lehigh County, this is the only place for you to go, and there's only 6 beds here.
The facility allows residents to stay on an emergency basis for 45 days and longer as needed. During their stay, residents take life skills classes twice a week to help search for jobs, learn to budget, and prepare to live independently.
It was scary though. It was like a bird leaving the nest.
As she looks around this room one last time, Nancy wipes away tears of gratitude.
I did it all because of the Salvation Army. They gave me the opportunity. They taught me how to grow.
Nancy may think that she learned things from us, but we also learned from Nancy. We learn that from each person that walks through the door.
Thank you so much. You're welcome, thank you.
In our final story tonight, our partners at ASR Media Productions take us to Mary's Shelter in Bethlehem, which provides residential and support services to pregnant women, new mothers, and their babies.
There's no words to describe what they did for me and how they helped me.
You hope you're making changes in people's lives, and when you see those changes happen, when you see someone progress, it is so gratifying.
Mary's Shelter is a homeless shelter for pregnant homeless women, and we're hoping to serve them through the first year of the baby's life.
We can house up to 6, maximum 7 at a push. We are not an emergency shelter, we're more of a program.
I was really stressed when I first came here. I was losing my house because I had lost my job because I got pregnant.
From the moment that they come in, we are really working on their exit. Actually, we are thinking about what their next move is going to be and how to get them there. Our outreach program right now grew from literally 1 family, and now we have easily over 200, probably closer to 300 families. The purpose of the outreach is not only to provide them with the basic needs for their infant. We really try to be a support system for them. So although they're coming to get the things that they need, they're also telling us about some of the issues that's affecting them.
The moms that come really come from a variety of situations. I honestly can't tell you that there have ever been 2 that are exactly the same story. Moms sometimes are fleeing domestic violence. Sometimes they've been couch surfing for years. Some of them have been living in homelessness most of their lives. They've never really experienced a singular place to live with their family for any extended period of time.
I'm pretty sure if I did not have the extra help, I would have failed. I like having the support. It's really nice having the support. It's nice that I can just, like, if I needed to, I could call them if I needed it. I don't really have that with my family, so.
We give them hope, I think. Hope that there can be a change in their lives. They have to have the resources so that they can go from being on and below the poverty line to a place where they can perhaps go back to school. Everything that you see in the shelter, the furniture that we have, the utensils that we use, is donated to us by the community.
Diapers, wipes, baby wash, clothing, anything that's donated to us from the community, we try to then cycle it through as fast as we can to get back out to the people who need it.
You have the poorest of the poor who sometimes don't have money for diapers. So are you going to buy diapers, or are you going to put that money towards hopping on the bus and running around the Lehigh Valley looking for resources?
There's a lot of people with a lot of needs, and sometimes learning where to direct them is one of the best things that we can do for them.
It's really important to us that we make relationships with other agencies through the Lehigh Valley, and one of those relationships that we have been able to build really successfully has been Head Start.
Knowing that we have helped a mom be able to do something for herself that then she's going to model for her child, that she's going to then be able to carry with her. That little success very often really boosts them to do the next thing and then the next thing. So knowing that we've given them that opportunity to be successful and then watching that success happen is probably one of the greatest things I enjoy as part of my job every day.
For more information about the agencies featured in this program, or for more information about how you can help, please visit WLVT.org. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. This program is recorded at the PPL Public Media Center at PBS 39 in Bethlehem.